channel. Just the other day, about a month ago, maybe two, I received a set of these all brass axles that are available on Aliexpress. I brought them in for my heavy hitter FCX24 K5 build, and I thought they would be a great candidate, where they're nice and heavy. That's what I wanted. I'm calling it the heavy hitter. So after ordering them, $100, I finally received them, and unfortunately they were defective. Both axles were defective. Severe shimming on every output shaft, including the differentials on both front and rear, as well as missing ball bearing in the front portal, and just really poor machine work. A lot of metal filings throughout the casings, as well as really bad burrs around the perimeter of the inner cap, portal caps. So I reached out to Aliexpress, I reached out to the seller and explained to them what was going on, and they requested for videos, which I complied to. After fighting with Aliexpress for their app for a very long time. You gotta have a specific quality, and just really short videos, and the quality, unfortunately, you couldn't get a clear video. We're talking about gears spinning and stuff like that. You got your finger in there trying to show them how much play and stuff like that. It's just really difficult to get in there. Anyhow, I was finally able to come up with something. I sent it to them, and they sent it to their machinist. Keep in mind that both my diffs had issues on both the front and rear, and then one output shaft had missing a ball bearing. So after the machinist reviewing what was going on, he or she that I was talking to came back and said, "We will send you one gear." And I responded, I was like, "Well, one gear?" I was like, "Both my diffs are defective. Are you like, this one gear, what does that mean? Are you sending me a set in regards to like the output shaft and the spool itself? Or are you sending me one full set, meaning the front and rear axle, total of 4 gears?" And I said, "What about the ball bearing?" And finally they responded, and they said that they would send me one complete diff set. So one of those, and one of those. I know it's blurry, back to the whole quality issue. And then they said that they'd send one ball bearing. They wanted to know the size. So I sent them the size. Anyhow, they then asked me if I had any orders, and of course I didn't have any orders, otherwise they would have sent it with that. I said no. So I had to pay, it's not a big deal, pay 1 penny, but I actually had to pay for them to send. I think it's just so that they could post a link or whatever, I don't know. Whatever the deal. So I waited another 15 days for the parts to arrive, and good on them, good on the seller. They sent me 2 complete diff sets, so 4 gears, plus 1 ball bearing. Ball bearing fit flawlessly. I measured out all the gears, and the 2 new diff gears that they sent me are considerably thicker on the gear itself, which is good. So I thought, take out some of the backlash, and then I started measuring out the output shaft for the diff, and one spec'd out flawlessly. One was 4 millimeters or 3.8 millimeters for the bearing shaft. The specs for a 4 millimeter ball bearing is 3.880. It's tolerable shaft, minimum allowance, and one gear spec'd out at 9.8, which was perfect. Gear looks great. The second one, the gear looks great, but the shaft it was poorly machined. It's almost got two shoulders on it. One specs out at 3.8. No, 3.94 millimeters, but there's only a half a millimeter of shoulder for the bearing to ride on, which is nowhere near enough for this 2.5 millimeter bearing. And the rest of that shaft specs out at 3.69 millimeters, so it's almost 3 times undersized for the ball bearing required. Remember, the minimum tolerance is 3.88, and they sent me a gear with 3.69. So I finally, after numerous hours trying this, trying that, this gear with that gear, I dug out the shims. And if you don't have shims on hand, definitely don't get into this. Don't buy these. Shims can get expensive. Fortunately for my FMSK10 build, I required 3 sets of shims, and so I had a set of 4x7 by 0.2 shims. I needed one of those for the output shaft. And then I also needed 4x6 by 0.2. I needed 6 of those. 6 shims. No, sorry, 5 shims. Just on one steering shaft. 5 of them. 3 on one side of a ball bearing and 2 on the other. But I think I now have a functioning rear axle. I'm about 98% on the front steering axle. It does bind up once in a while, and when it binds up, it locks right up. So what's it gonna do if I don't catch it? Probably burn out a motor, or take the I don't know what's gonna do. I've checked the gears for burrs, and there's no burrs. They look good. I'm starting to think it's a ball bearing for something in there. Maybe it's missing one of the little BBs, and the balls are trying to jump. I've spun every ball bearing, but by hand, and they seem to work fine. So anyhow, that's where I'm at with these axles. They're $100. You can get a nice set of axles on Mias Racing, not necessarily for the FCX24, but you might be able to get something that works for a little over $100. That is, it's not brass, but it's very nicely machined. I'm going to leave the seller's name down below. So for those of you who are looking at buying these brass axles, try to stay away from that seller. As well as I think you can buy just the housings. My recommendation is, if you want to go with these brass axle housings, just buy the housings and use your stock internals. Or just, an aftermarket set of internals. Yeah, I think that's all there is to be said about these axles. If you found this video helpful, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And if you haven't subscribed already and you want to see honest reviews, hit that subscribe button. And if that's not your thing, please check back. Look forward to seeing you down in the future. Anyhow, thanks for your time. Bye for now.